Hello everybody. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Chapter 3 and the concept of diversity and how diversity is so important for survival of species in the environment. So we're looking today at two different types of populations. This is a figure from Chapter 3. The first population has to do with fish that have low genetic variation. So if this is the actual population of all of the fish in this particular species in this particular environment, you see that here we're comparing how many of the fish are able to survive at different temperatures. So these are the lower temperatures, these are the higher temperatures. And you can see that this particular fish population has little genetic diversity in that most of them are going to survive at a particular type of temperature, which of course would be the optimum temperature. And there really isn't much ability for the fish in this population to survive outside of that optimum temperature. If our temperature for some reason were to drop about this low, then the entire population of fish would die. If our population went up to about this level here, then our entire population of fish would die because they simply don't have enough genetic capability to be able to adapt to that higher or lower temperature. So we would have a serious problem if anything really happened, which is being shown in this figure here. After the heat wave, some kind of heat wave came through, the temperature was just above where these fish could tolerate living, and now during that heat wave, all of these fish died because there just wasn't enough genetic diversity in the whole population for at least even a few of the fish to survive. So this is devastating, having this change in temperature going from normal, what they're used to some kind of temporary heat wave has literally decimated this population of fish. And the reason is because they just don't have enough genetic variation or random chance variation in their genes that allows them to survive, at least a few fish to survive the different temperatures. Over here we're comparing this as an opposing example to fish with a population that has high genetic variation. So again, we're looking at the same type of graph, how many fish on the y-axis, and then on the x-axis we're looking at the type of temperature that's going on, lower towards the left and higher temperatures towards the right. So again, there is of course an optimum temperature at which most fish like to survive, but because this particular fish population has a high genetic variation, that means that some of the fish will be able to survive, even though they might prefer this higher temperature, will be able to survive that lower temperature just by random chance. There's enough diversity in this population for that to happen. Whereas if the other extreme happened, there would be a few fish in this higher range that would be able to survive any kind of higher temperature change, even if it was only temporary. So when we look down at this high diversity population, we see that after the same heat wave, where we have this kind of higher water temperature at the same spot, most of the fish in the population are going to survive, but by random chance, just because of the diversity in their genes, some of those fish will be able to survive. And if enough of those fish are able to survive to be able to mate with each other and repopulate, then after a little bit of time, of course it's not going to happen immediately, then these fish can literally repopulate that population, and it can look different but larger as time goes on. What do I mean by different? Well, this is the principle of survival of the fittest, or environmental pressure and selection. So if these fish are the ones that are able to survive, and they have the higher temperature range ability in their genetic variation to survive those higher temperatures, then, and all of these guys did not have the ability to survive those higher temperatures, and they're dead, who gets to pass on their genes to the next generation? Well, the ones that survived. So if they had some kind of genetic ability to survive higher temperatures, then they're going to hand that genetic ability on with a high likelihood to the next generation. So our next generation of fish are going to be somewhat more heat tolerant than our original generation of fish were. Why is this important for environmental survival? And what does this mean? And how do we get genetic variation in the first place? Well, genetic variation just basically comes from having a large gene pool. That means you have lots of individuals mating with each other and passing on their genes to the next generation. And the individuals that are mating with each other are not coming from the same genetic pool. In other words, they're not brothers and sisters, they're not cousins, they're long, far descendants of each other. So you have a great spread of genes going into the gene pool, and therefore you have a higher likelihood of some of those genes giving a certain capability to survive any given environmental pressure. whether it be heat or salinity in the water or anything else. So the greater your diversity, the bigger your gene pool, the better you are protected against any given environmental pressure you may see as a population, whether it be heat or anything else, competitors, anything else.